So like the first asset, we're not using PE. We're using completely financed. It's $10 million. And if we only bought one asset, okay, and 5 years later we exit, and it goes from 10 million to 20 million.
So you exit, you buy for 10 and exit for 20.
20. And then between myself, my CFO, COO, everyone else, we own $10 million of which we split it up. Each
So you wind up with 50, but this is not a private equity.
No, this is all finance lender.
Okay, gotcha.
Commercial lender, finance the whole thing.
Okay.
Finance the whole thing. So we went from 10 million to 20 million. So that group then is splitting up $10 million of that 2%, 2%, 5%, whatever, correct?
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
So it's 100% exit.
Correct.
They're not, the guys that are buying you aren't going to salami you where you keep the paper, blah, blah, it's 100% exit.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so in that scenario, then the 2% works because then you get 2% of 10 million, so someone's getting $2 million, $2 million,
200,000,
200K. So every director's getting 200K.
Correct.
Your chairman's getting
500K if he's got 5%, or a million if you got 10. Okay, I got you. Okay, I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm not slow like them. I'm with you. Go ahead.
Okay. So, but let's just say on the next one, you have to enter PE.
Private equity is a player in your deal.
Correct.
Gotcha.
So, blues being, this is commercial lending. And PE is in. So yeah, they drop in. So you get $10 million asset. Commercial lending puts in 5, and PE puts in the rest. Okay.
It's still 10, so it's a $20 million asset?
Still $10 million asset, but in this case,
Commercial put in
5
million,
million,
and PE put in 5 million. And the commercial got no ownership, they're just lending money, and PE got some ownership.
They got ownership.
How much?
Let's just say, let's make it rich. So they got 90-10.
Okay. 90 for them, 10 for the management.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And then what happens on exit, though, that's the question, is that if this still goes to 20 mil, 10 mil, then it increases.
I know why you're asking, but it's going to be the wrong answer you're going to get.
Probably. This is what
I know what you're asking. He's trying to do a Kira, twist the system, but go ahead and ask. So tell everybody for their benefit.
So on exit, we have 10 million, okay?
Now we have 20.
We have 20, but we have to pay back.
Okay.
We have to pay.
Oh, you're going to pay them back even. Okay. So you're going to exit with 10 million.
We're going to exit with 10 million, but
90% of the ownership of the deal is PE.
Correct.
And 10% is you and your band of renown.
Correct. So I'm envisioning the PE is going to get 90.
You envision correctly.
Okay, they're going to get 9 million of the 10, right? And so there's only.
And that's if. And I haven't told you this because you got enough reason not to do these deals. But I'm going to give you another one right now. They have reverse claw.
PE.
Reverse. That game goes 2 ways. Mm-hmm. Greg promises him he's going to perform at some hurdle or some shit. But he doesn't, they say in Scotland. And normally they just throw you out on your ass. But they may not. But they have a reverse claw, whereby they claw back from your 10%. And I've seen guys walk away with 1%, the whole team. Because often the reverse claw is much more stringent than the claw. So they may expect you to perform at 15% hurdle rates, and if you don't, they'll claw back at 20%. These big PE firms tend to get paid 800 billion because they're easy-going guys like me. So they will have 90% of the 10 million.
And that's left.
And then the 10% for you and your mooches.
Okay.
If they don't reverse claw you.
Okay.
So in other words, they're going to tell you for you to stay in. They don't say it this way, but what they mean is for your team to stay in management, you have to perform at 6% rate of return or some number. If you only operate at 6%, you don't get any more. They don't take any from you. If you operate at 15%, you can claw on them. But if you operate at less than 6%, they may put up with it for a year or two, but then they throw you out on your ass. Or let's just say that you kept your nostrils above the water until the exit, so you have the 10. But there is a scenario that you can come away with less than 10. And in addition to that, one of your board or you or your daughter gets cancer and you want to leverage against your stock, some of the more progressive PE firms will say, okay, well, you can borrow against your stock. Not dissimilar to there was a secondary and a tertiary market in Facebook stock before they went out, based on options. Of that 10%, you're going to give options in addition to the equity that you're going to give your dream team. I say you should give options all the way down to the guy that sweeps the floor. Well, where do those options come from? Oh, okay. Where do the options come from? They don't come from private equity. And normally, who do they come from? The biggest shareholder, which is you. Okay. No, the founder, not the, yeah. And if the board are reasonable guys and gals, they'll say, oh, no, you shouldn't take all that burden. We'll do it pari passu Tyler, too. But there's normally one or two board members that are Mexican or black or yellow or blue. Fuck you. You promised them the options, you asshole. We never liked that anyway, so don't take it out of our hide. But they only fight when the money gets there. Everybody's happy, swapping spit, and playing tennis until the fucking money comes in the door. Then all of a sudden, that's when Kira's outline and all that shit, would come in handy. But if you give it to them first, then they start fighting early, and then nothing ever happens. Okay.
So you're giving, and that was my other question. So it could be that the options you're giving to the employees is different here than different here. Okay. And then this was bringing me to one of the rocks things is that this is say on the third one very similar to this, but now you're given equity. You're giving the doctor equity in this.
Correct.
He's only getting equity. You say 5% in the company, so he's getting.
No, he's getting equity.
10%.
10%
overall.
Yeah.
So where does this overall come in? Because my overall is that.
Yeah, because it won't happen like you got them in silos, you got them in different deals. This deal's going to be closed. That's not how it's going to happen. You're going to own a bunch of deals at the same time.
Right. Portfolio.
You're going to have a portfolio, as they say in Texas. You're going to have a portfolio. You're going to have a portfolio of assets. Some are going to be producing assets, and some ain't going to be producing.
Right.
But nothing but shit.
So no SPVs. You just shouldn't do that at all. The special purpose vehicles. So
yeah, but you're just making things more confusing. Okay. Believe me, when you come to splitting up the money, guys, and Kira, it will get confusing enough. Because they'll say that Theodore told me this, that David said this, that Kira said this, and Theodore, who looks more honest than the other two, will say, yeah, I did say that. Kira will have fog of war. David, I don't know what you're talking about. And so, so I've seen arbitrations within the founding board. Of course, you don't want the other side to know that. But it only happens when you make money. Everybody lovey-dovey until you make some money.
So in that scenario where Rox is given 5%, he's up here. The doctor
will get 5%, exactly.
5% here and 5% here.
Correct.
Okay.
And so now you're down to nothing. and you go back there and you buy a pharmacy. Now that you know how to finance it, you can buy 4 or 5 boutique pharmacies, finance it for 125%, and sit back and play with your grandchildren.
All right. That's what I want to know my endpoint.
Okay, no, but I mean, but it doesn't just end one day, unless you sell the holding company.
Well, that's the whole thing, is that this would be the entity that you're selling, because I'll just say, my situation, I'm not selling 1 or 2.
So you're just trying to confuse them by giving them these examples. Because the only thing they're going to remember, Vincent, is these fucking examples. And the fact that I said that you're going to have to go buy a pharmacy, that's the only thing they're going to remember.
So,
that's why I don't give the test.
So say you buy you a microbrewery, right? And every single one of these owners, you're promising them like 10%. So they're all 10% of each individual one. Then every year, then you're going to pay dividend, like 10% dividend?
No.
To them, or?
No. If they do pay a dividend, then the shareholders are entitled to their share of dividend. But if you don't pay a dividend, you just pay cash bonuses. Then you can pay the cash bonuses to who you want.
Gotcha. So 5%.
But the holding company, well, rarely pays the dividend unless you pass through the revenue.
Yeah.
And then you have to make a deal with the private equity firm. Okay, our assets are held by a holding company, and we want to pass through dividends to the holding company, and the private equity firm probably say no, unless you're paying, 90% to us, and that defeats the purpose. But then, because then they don't have any working capital, and it can not confusing, but it can get laborious. Like in Ross's deal, I mean, because there's so many moving parts. In the beginning, other than some bonuses that will disguise as capex or working capital, I mean, we're not going to pay anybody anything other than basic salaries, etc. Because we want to keep the money in the business. Because when you start taking money out of the business, the PE firms are going to go not bonkers and say, "Fine, we'll take our share, and our share is 90%. Our share is 90%." And that defeats the purpose of, but they will not stamp their feet as hard as we say, well, I'm going to take $1 million out of a cash flow and I'm going to pay key employees. And that's, probably depending on the size of the organization, they'll say it's just fine. They may ask for a list, show me the breakdown. And that list the founder, you in the deal, will have the lion's share because you'll have arguably because you had more to do with the growth of the company and you're the largest shareholder. And the bonuses that you pay out, while it's not in the form of a dividend, will coincidentally model the ownership structure. The biggest bonus goes to you, the next biggest bonus, etc., down to, a secretary is getting $5,000 or whatever. And again, I said it before, we have no idea what it is to give the guy that parks the cars for you in a building that $2,000 out of the bonus system. I mean, it's like giving them $200,000 because 1, nobody's ever given him anything. 2, I mean, he's got a smile on for everybody. I mean, telling everybody and their brother what a great organization it is to work for. And vis-a-vis getting payments out of the companies, it is, because it's so unheard of. It's more heard of in the United States with like baristas from Starbucks getting money, but in this country it's just, or Europe in general, it's just fucking never done. I mean, we had a deal in Spain many years ago. In Barcelona, the home of Segovia actually, the home of my ancestors, but Barcelona, and we paid everybody down to the guy that swept the floors. We made the exit contingent, because we exited. We wanted to pay the bonus before the exit, because we knew the new guys weren't going to pay anybody anything. And we had to go to court to force them. Wow. Yeah, but I mean, these are the fun scenarios because you're making money. You haven't gone through the scenarios that they all will belly up.
One goes down.
Yeah,
Isn't part of the structure though, so that if this one goes to shit,
they don't take it exactly. But remember, any banker or financial institution worth their salt has got a half of a brain. They're going to say, okay, let me see your asset base. What is a holding company? We understand we're only making the loan vis-a-vis company C, they say. But when they see equity, company A, B, D, E, F, I mean, you don't get it if you don't ask. So, I mean, they'll ask, and depending on the leverage and depending on how much time you have to close the deal, and they think how much leverage they have over you will depend on how hard they press, and that's why you've got to be talking to more than one financial institution. You can't talk to too many.